everyone. Welcome to the Glow Podcast. I am here today with a very exciting guest. I have Jon from Core Progression, and I'm super excited to speak with him. But for those of you who are new here, we are Tailored Marketing. We partner with organizations in health, wellness, and longevity space to fuel growth through strategic marketing and sales strategies. So if you are interested, drop a comment. Jon, thank you so much for coming on. I would love it if you would just go ahead and give a little bit of an introduction so the listeners know who you are.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. My name's Jon Cerf. I grew up in Colorado and have been running Core Progression for going on close to 18 years now. We have 8 locations in the Denver metro area, 1 in Austin, Texas, and opening up our 10th location in Oklahoma. So yeah, it's been fun.
That's super, super awesome. And for any of the listeners who aren't really familiar with Core Progression, could you just kind of give us like a little bit of like a synopsis of what you guys do, who you help, who you work with, all of those fun things?
Yeah. So Core Progression is a results-focused boutique personal training and wellness concept. Offer primarily one-on-one sessions. We also do some semi-private sessions. We have physical therapy, chiropractic, GLP-1, telehealth, dietitian, pretty much anything that someone would need on their health and fitness journey, we have, and really kind of curate a 360-degree approach to meet them wherever they're at and then facilitate along that journey, whatever their needs may be, to get the outcome that they're looking for.
That's super cool. And like when I was doing kind of research on your company, I just thought it was so cool that basically, you can just go to one place and it's kind of like a one-stop shop. You're not like having to travel, especially like being in a city like Denver. Really, most places, like you're typically having to go anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes from maybe like your physical therapist to your chiropractor to your personal trainer. And if you're busy, you normally don't have time for that. So I'm interested, what had you come up with this idea to really incorporate it all into one place, and what was kind of the inspiration behind Core Progression?
Yeah. So, coming out of undergrad from Baylor, my thought was to go to med school, and, that was kind of the career path or track that I thought was going to be in front of me. And life has a funny way sometimes of giving you a different path and track, and can't say it didn't work out better. So, for me, growing up, I've always, been into sports and kind of have used, what at the time maybe was considered more Eastern medicine. I know chiropractic's pretty mainstream now, but you go back 20, 30 years and it wasn't maybe to the level that everybody's like, oh, stretching, chiropractic, supplementation. I think sometimes the fringe is what starts and then it becomes mainstream later down the road. And so, to me, just really understanding, hey, what lane am I great in? And that is understanding how to give someone a programmed exercise to accomplish, muscle gain, weight loss, whatever that looks like. But then there's things that are outside of my realm: dry needling, cupping, adjusting someone's structural, spine, not something I want to participate with, but understanding, at Core, we take a very deep dive into everyone's biomechanics, and it's just a fancy way of saying how your body moves. And so sometimes it's like, I can't do my job to the depth and level that is required because there's something that's preventing that from a mechanical standpoint. So for example, your hips are not in alignment. We can stretch, we can do every squat, glute exercise that you could ever imagine. It's a structural thing that you need to have someone who understands that can then do what they need to do to get you in the proper posture and alignment. Or if there's, certain times where, hey, somebody's got some type of knot that a massage isn't going to get out, they need dry needle, they need things that are outside of the scope of what a personal trainer could or should do. My thought was, well, wouldn't it be great, like you said, not only from a time advantage, but just from an expertise to be able to walk, 15 feet in that same studio and go talk to someone who knows that area or realm of the body to a level or depth that I wasn't able to study or my staff wasn't able to study, and then really have a collaborative treatment, a protocol for our clients to really give them the best results and the best outcomes. And by understanding that, that's kind of where this idea was birthed, to say, hey, how do we create these centers where everybody's bringing their best? And, I think sometimes too, people get injured and then they're like, how do I get back into it? And I don't really know. And most physical therapist jobs isn't actually doing training sessions. And where we have people that they start with us, they live an active lifestyle, they get injured. And it's nice to be able to kind of, just keep them on that life and health and wellness track, no matter what activities they're doing, and be aligned as a unit inside of our facilities.
Super cool. Yeah, that's something I didn't even really think about like as much, is the collaborative approach to their overall health and wellness. It's like, okay, if you are just going to say like a dietitian, they're really only focusing on your diet. Like if you're out of alignment or like you need something else, they're not even necessarily going to know to tell you. They just know that something's like missing, kind of. They're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure this out on my own. Like I need almost somebody else that is an expert in this. So that totally makes sense. And that's super, super cool. And I mean, I'm sure too that you have so many stories about people coming to you and just like crazy transformations that they've had. So like I would love to hear maybe one that you guys have had recently, obviously without like sharing names or anything, but if you're able to share any of those details, that would be amazing.
No, I mean, I got a pretty deep Rolodex of, stories and transformations. And, sometimes it's a little win from somebody who was like, oh my gosh, I, took 30 seconds off my mile time on my latest half marathon, or I was even able to do a half marathon pain free, so I think those are cool. Obviously, the big ones, we've had many people lose well over 100 pounds, and this was pre GLP-1. So this was the hard work, not,
wow, yeah.
Hey, I'm just, not eating much.
Yeah.
One that kind of comes to mind, we had a lady, her and her husband were struggling with fertility due to, she was, in the comorbidity type of a state where they were not able to conceive. And so we lost about 70 pounds. They ended up getting pregnant. She unfortunately put all the weight back on during the pregnancy. And then we lost 100 pounds post pregnancy. And, she's a mom to 2 now. And I think,
Awesome.
So cool to feel like we played a part in, hey, we got you to a place where you were healthy enough that then you guys could have the family that you were hoping and dreaming for, and that we were able to kind of come along that journey. So, really from people having joint replacements, knees, hips, shoulders, helping them get back on track to being able to do the things that they've loved, different athletes in different places of their career. We actually had a Olympian from Peru that worked out with us over this last summer, and that was pretty cool. So, I think for me, we work with a wide swath of individuals, but to me, helping anybody achieve their goal, even if it's, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds because I got a high school reunion coming up this summer, or a wedding, or, you name it. I think why people get into fitness and why, that passion exists, or, I see people try and leave the industry and they always kind of get sucked back in. It's really hard to recreate those same type of altruistic, feel-good feelings in a lot of other careers. And so, I think waking up knowing that every day we're making a difference in someone's lives to look and feel their best is what keeps us going, and has been a really cool part of our story.
Yeah, that's super awesome. And I love that, like, or kind of like, it sounds like y'all are meeting people, exactly where they're at. It's like, okay, you can be an Olympian or you can be just trying to lose 10 pounds, but like, we're going to help you reach whatever goal because you have that expertise and staff to be able to help them kind of wherever they are at. That's super, super awesome. And so I know you mentioned too that y'all have multiple locations and you're opening up a new location too in Oklahoma. Can you talk like a little bit more about kind of what that business growth has looked like for you all, like throughout the 18 years that you've been opened, and how kind of that transformation has happened?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you've seen any of those success memes, everybody thinks it's this like line up and to the right. And it's really, quite a squiggly line with a journey and things. And yeah, I think, for me, being an entrepreneur, my goal is how do we bring fitness to as many people as possible to let them have a phenomenal experience with a coach. And, I think something that differentiates us is we have a proven training system and methodology. So I've invented the core progression training system. It adapts to any type of person. So, it's not one size fits all in that respect, but there is a protocol that we then know where to meet people at, where to progress them, and how to take them through. So it adds a level of consistency and scale that a lot of other training places don't get. And you're kind of more subject to, am I working with a good trainer? Am I working with a new trainer? Am I working with a trainer that, has the level of depth and knowledge? And for me, having, 20 years in the industry, it was like, unfortunately, I just wouldn't have enough hours in the day to work with everybody.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, how do we then teach others that same programming that had made such success and given our clients the results? And so by teaching the core progression training system, even if you're working with someone who's newer to the profession or someone who's got a decade, there's a level of consistency that's going to be across the board to really help them where they're starting and where they want to go. So as far as the growth, it's been something, started off with one small spot in Bradburn, and then outgrew that and got a bigger spot, and then opened up a spot in Arvada, and then took the company to franchising in 2018. And 4 of our franchise locations, so Boulder, Lakewood, Rhino, and Austin, Texas. Then we ran into COVID, and at the height of COVID, we had actually had 17 territories that people had signed on for all across the country, and people were like, I don't think I'm going to open a fitness center when we don't know when that's going to look like. So, that created some nuance and challenge. And,
of course.
Since then, it's been something that we've continued to expand and open in Colorado. Part of the growth is, look, we really just want people to be able to have that phenomenal experience, and also understanding people probably have about a 15-minute drive radius that they will drive to go get it. And so, wanting to make sure that we have locations that are convenient enough to capture large swaths of population. And not that we've completely built out Colorado, but looking to expand to other states and just feel like, hey, we've been tasked with this gift of, we know what and how to help people. So it would be, not in everyone's best interest if we kind of kept this gift in secret to ourselves. And so wanting to go and expand to multiple states and populations to give them the same opportunity that thousands of people over the last 20 years have also been able to have.
That's super awesome. Yeah, I know. And one part too that you were talking about was kind of like how you're streamlining and like how you're really creating this business growth is creating like a streamlined process through the core progression training model. It's this same model that kind of everyone can follow. And I mean, that is kind of how you have to look at business growth. You can't be like, okay, we're gonna have to create like a new wheel every time that we open something new, but it's like, okay, how can we make this more streamlined and like people know what they're getting? Like, it's like, I mean, I hate to use this like analogy, but it's like if you're going to say like Chick-fil-A in like Georgia, or if you're going to Chick-fil-A in Colorado, like you know what you're getting, and like, so it's like if you're going to core progression in Colorado, or you're going to the new location in Oklahoma, or you're going in Austin, you kind of like know what you're getting. And I feel like that's good for the people who are working there because they know what to do. And then it's also good for the client because people have already had a lot of success with that model. So it's just like something that's repeatable.
Yeah. And I think, a big fear that exists in fitness is I got to go start walking down this path and journey. And I don't know if I'm going to end up getting to that end destination. Yeah. And I'm paying every step along the way. And I think, we look at so many other facets of our lives. That's just not how our world works. You want to get a meal, it'll be at your door in 15 minutes. You want to get that pair of whatever, it'll show up by tomorrow. And so I think, we are very reluctant to trade money for unknown. And yet how our bodies will respond. Will this work? I've tried this in the past. It didn't work. I'm putting in time, effort, energy, and resources with the hope that I'm going to get what I want. And so I think by also having a proven system and methodology that, we're different as humans, but at the same time, we have the same number of bones in our body, same muscles, same movement patterns. And so by being able to deconstruct that and create something that can adapt and work with, you have a shoulder injury, you have a knee injury, you have this, orientation on your scapula head, we can modify it, but knowing by having that framework of how a human body is put together, we can then facilitate and kind of take out maybe some of that hesitation or fear as to, will this work for me? Well, it's worked for thousands of other people, so there's a better than likely chance that it will, kind of then leaving it up to, I don't know, and I'm going to be putting time, effort, and energy into something that is a big question mark.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I mean, it's the same way for really anything in our lives. Like, it's like you're like, even like like me working in marketing, like somebody's a lot more likely to work with me if they like can tell like, oh, okay, so you've helped this person do this. Like, all right, like that sounds good. Like we have similar business models. Like this is how you've done it. Like I can see the transformation. Or like when I was just starting out and didn't have like any proof of what I could do, like people are like, you're like a lot more questionable. So
Yeah.
the more data there is to back something, the better, really, in anything. People just want to be able to see the transformation. And I think now too, we're getting so much information from so many different sources, and it's just like I just want like the hard facts. Like just give me the hard facts. I don't need like all the fluff almost all the time. Like it's helpful, but also if you want to reach a certain goal, then like you just want to know that you're going to be able to get there if you're going to pay, whatever.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I can give you a little, it's not live for the market yet, but it's something I've been working on for almost the last year of building a tool that we can actually scan someone with their cell phone, create a 3D rendering of them, and then with AI tools, show them what they could look like, gaining muscle, losing weight, some of those types of things. And so also
Cool.
not only, hey, believe me, because I can show you before and after pictures and we've got social proof and a good track record, but in real time being able to show them here's where you are and here's what that could look like. So we're very close to launching that, but
That's super cool.
I think something that just will give people a little bit more peace of mind, because if you've been overweight your whole life, you might not even know what would I look like 50 pounds lighter, or if you've been thin your whole life, and I would hear this a lot. Oh, maybe if I just lost 5 pounds, and it's like, where did you come up with that figure? Maybe being able to show someone it's not losing 5 pounds, it's putting on 6 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
That's the aesthetic that you would hope for. And being able to in real time show them with those different changes is something I'm pretty stoked about.
Yeah, that's super, super cool. I mean, because like when you do lose weight or even like when you gain muscle, it's not just like your body that looks different, your face looks completely different too. So it's like, it's all of these little intricacies that like kind of go into it where you're like, wow, okay, because I'm sure we've all seen somebody who's lost like 20, 50, 100 pounds, however much, and like they look kind of like a completely different person, honestly.
Yeah.
That's super, super cool. So yeah, I don't know how much like you can share about the core progression training model, but I am like interested. Is it mainly just the training aspect, like the physical training aspect, or is it more of like a holistic model, like the business where it's like, okay, we're not just taking in the nutrition and the fitness training, but we're also taking in all of these other aspects too?
Yeah. I mean, I can, I was a science major, so I can get pretty nerdy. I think also maybe for your audience, they would maybe appreciate more high level. So
yeah, high level's good.
To me, it's one of those things where, we start with a movement assessment. We want to really see how and what people move in all planes of motion. And I think different, if you come to a core progression location than going elsewhere, we're going to take the time to really get to know and understand your body, and then your plan's derived off of your movement patterns. So how long you stay in that biomechanics phase is going to be somewhat, individually dependent, for the fact that if you come in and you don't have a ton of mechanical issues, we might only be there for a couple weeks. Somebody who maybe has a lot of mechanical issues might be there for a couple months. That journey and path is walked at whatever pace and speed of the individual where they show up. First thing is, and the thought process is no different. We're going to build a home. I want to make sure that we're putting you on level ground so that everything we build off of that's going to be solid and stable. And I think so many times, we're here in January, people are excited, they're motivated. It's like new year, new me, I'm going to get going. And they just jump in because they don't have the training, education, or would even know what to look for to address their biomechanics. So they just start going after it. And then two things typically happen. They either get injured or they run into a plateau. And that's because if you don't fix the underlying movement pattern, you could squat, 1,000 times for the next 30 days. You're not going to actually get the glute growth, or you're not going to get the, aesthetic that you were looking for, because maybe there's anterior pelvic tilt going on, or you have external rotation, or there's something that's preventing that. And so the effort then does not get rewarded in the aesthetic because you were set up, wrong. No different if I have a wall that's tilted, I could put a laser and put a picture on it. It's not going to look right because the foundational wall was not level. And so we start with that. Then we want to move into endurance. We want people to not only be able to do those reps properly 1, 2, 3 times, can you sustain it? And so I think this is where putting you in the proper form and positioning, and then giving you, and we have multiple layers of that endurance, but moving you through those different things of endurance to be able to keep the form over and over and over again. Then we move more into strength. And I know strength is, kind of a buzzword. Everybody's like, you got to get stronger, strength training, put on muscle. And, so we get people and we move them through there. Then we move into hypertrophy, power, performance. And the cool thing is right now I've been working on level 18. So, been doing this a while, and I've had clients that have been, part of that journey for a while as well. And so meeting them where they're at, having a formula, adapting it so that if, you're strong, cool, maybe your weights are going to be better than someone who's not as strong, or, you have other outside goals of skiing, snowboarding, sports, whatever it is, we can tailor those, but having that framework. Obviously, we know diet and nutrition is also very important. And so layering, what does that look like? Utilizing the other providers that we have. So if there's things that are going on that we run into, hey, we can do a gazillion hip bridges, there's something orienting that's not working, we have that professional that can then also kind of help unlock that to make sure that we're seeing the progress along the way.
No, that's super, super cool. I love that. I feel like, so it's just like very holistic, well-rounded. And I'm sure as you're doing all of that and going through that training model, it's also like you were saying in the beginning, with that end goal in mind. It's like, okay, this is what we're trying to achieve here. Like you said, building that strong foundation first, but then focusing kind of on the goal for the client.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let everyone know, what is the best place to find you? What is the best place to find Core Progression? I will put everything in the show notes as well, so everybody will have those links.
Yeah, coreprogression.com. We have all the different locations, so you can select whatever's closest to you, and that's the best way to get a hold of us and schedule. We also have Facebook and Instagram if people want to see some more of our kind of vibe, aesthetic. We have, hundreds and hundreds of before and after pictures on the website as well as on all of our socials. So you don't have to take my word for it. You can look and see for yourself, and be cool to be able to see so many people's transformations where you're going to walk in looking one way, you're going to walk out looking and feeling another way. And that's what keeps us running and going. And we're excited for the next 18 years and what's to come down the pipe.
That is super, super awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing more about Core Progression and everything that y'all are working on and doing. I'm super, super grateful. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.